Hey there, Tom here from the Run Testers. In this video, we are doing a comparison of the Saucony Triumph 23 and the Saucony Ride 18. Let's have a look. The Saucony Ride 18 costs £130 or $140. It weighs 266 grams or 9.4 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Saucony Triumph 23 costs £170 or $170. It weighs 278 grams or 9.8 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 10mm. The Saucony Ride 18 is a daily shoe that receives a few updates to the popular Ride 17. The biggest of those is the addition of PWRRUN Plus in the midsole, a foam designed to make the shoe lighter, softer and more responsive than its predecessor, as well as an improved level of energy return. The outsole also aims to have better durability and grip alongside a smoother ride due to flex grooves towards the front of the shoe. Finally, there's a new engineered mesh upper to increase breathability and provide a stretchy fit to improve lockdown and comfort. In addition, there's an updated heel collar designed for an improved level of cushioning. The shoe is also available in a wide version. The Triumph line has seen a number of changes over its lifetime, with a mixed response to certain iterations of the shoe. The Triumph 23 is a noticeable deviation from the bulky 22, focusing on delivering changes that make the shoe lighter and giving it a smoother heel-to-toe transition. The PWRRUN PB aims to be lighter and softer than the previous version, providing an improved experience, especially for longer training sessions. That focus is mirrored in a redesigned rubber outsole that works alongside that foam to ensure a more fluid, natural ride. The upper is a lightweight engineered mesh built for breathability and comfort, and includes a thick, padded, gusseted tongue.
So in terms of fit, I would say these two shoes have fit true to size. I've got them both in a UK size 8. That is my typical running shoe size. I've got them in the regular fit options, and there are wider fit options for both of these shoes. I would stick to the regular options because I think in terms of what I've seen, they've been absolutely fine. I've got quite skinny, narrow feet. I don't really need that extra room available on both of these shoes. But I think for most people, that will be absolutely fine to go for that regular version. I think the biggest differences would be, look at those toe box areas, generally very good room there. I think the Saucony Ride 18 narrows a little bit more in comparison to the Triumph 23. So there might be a bit more of an argument to go for that wider option. When you go further back into these shoes, that kind of midfoot area, generally pretty similar in terms of that hold. Maybe again, just slightly kind of narrow on the Saucony Ride 18, but it's not a huge amount in it. There's a little bit more in terms of comfort on the Triumph 23. Just you look at some kind of key areas. The laces are kind of these spongy ones that just offer a little less kind of pressure on the top of your foot. You've got a little bit more padding in that tongue area as well, and there's definitely a bit more padding around the heel collar, so if you want that, then the Triumph 23 is definitely going to give you a bit more on that. The kind of heel counters are slightly different. It's a bit more narrow on the Triumph 23. I haven't had any irritation from there, but that might be something for some people to kind of keep in mind, where it's a little bit more flat on the Triumph 23. But in general, yeah, these are comfortable, well padded, snug fitting shoes. Maybe the Ride 18, slightly more narrow in that toe box area, a few more comfortable or comfort kind of centric features on the Triumph 23. If you're looking for that in a daily trainer, then that's what the Triumph 23 is going to get you over the Ride 18.
So the fit for me in these two shoes is actually very similar. There's plenty of space in the forefoot in both of them before my big toe, probably more than I'd normally experience in my UK size 8, which is my normal running shoe size. There's plenty of space around the toe box. The midfoot is nice and accommodating, and I've got a fairly average width feet, and they feel absolutely perfect for me. The upper is quite nice and flexible as well, so really nice, comfortable shoes. Loads of padding on both of them. Very, very similar in how they fit and how they feel. Very comfortable shoes, definitely designed for doing lots of miles in, so I would definitely stay to my UK size 8 in both of these shoes. So the Triumph and Ride comparison is one that has changed quite a bit over the last few years. The Triumph is a shoe that I used to absolutely love. The Triumph 21 and the Triumph 20 were some of my favourite shoes for easy miles, daily sessions. They were great holiday shoes. They had a really nice midsole in them that meant that you got a nice bit of softness, but it's fairly well balanced. You got a little bit of energy return in it, not loads, but just ticked loads of boxes. And I used to love running in those shoes, doing lots of miles. When I went home to visit my parents, that'd be the shoe that I took with me because I could do most things with it. It wasn't the most versatile shoe in the world, but it was a bit more versatile than you get with quite a lot of cushioned daily shoes. The Triumph 22, I did not like. The midsole changed to something that was significantly firmer, just didn't have a nice roll through in it, just didn't feel like that shoe did anything for me. I ran under marathon in it and I really regretted it by the end of it because I just felt like the shoe wasn't helping me in any way, and it wasn't particularly comfortable either. It just felt like quite a sturdy, thick shoe on my foot. The Triumph 23 is a slight return to form after the 22. The midsole's a little bit more accommodating, it's a little bit softer, not loads. It's definitely not a shoe that's got any noticeable squish in it or bounce or anything like that, but it's definitely a shoe that rides a little bit more comfortably. The rocker in it, or the heel to toe transition, is a bit nicer than what I got in the 22, and I do actually find this quite a nice easy shoe to run in, definitely for easy runs. It's probably versatile to an extent, but not in the way that the previous Triumphs were. It just feels like you can pick up the pace a little bit more. It's a bit more responsive than a softer midsole running shoe or cushioned running shoe, but it's still just a shoe that ticks the boxes if you just want sort of a general daily easy shoe. It doesn't really do anything that impressive, which, considering the price, it doesn't really do anything that I would expect to pay that money for. I think it's solid. I think it's got a nice bit of stability in it. I think it's comfortable, but there are lots of shoes out there that do that. The Ride, some of the early versions of the Ride, so going back to like the 15s and the 16s, I wasn't a big fan of those shoes just because they were sort of the cheaper alternative to the Triumph range at that point. And the midsole wasn't great. It was very thick and didn't really give you much back. Although in the last couple of versions of the Ride, that has really changed, and the Ride has become a shoe that it's not so much competing with the Triumph now, but it's slightly better in a lot of ways because, one, it's significantly cheaper in the UK. It's about £40 cheaper in the UK. The difference really is the midsole in these. So with the Ride, it does have PWRRUN Plus in it, which is a little bit more responsive. It's not as soft, it's a bit more versatile. It's definitely a shoe that you can pick up the pace a bit more in. Again, it's not the fastest shoe in the world, but it's definitely a shoe that you could go out and do an interval session in and it would do okay at that. Whereas the Triumph 23, I don't think really delivers on that front. I think you could run faster in it, but it's not really a shoe that feels great at doing that. The Ride 18 feels a bit more at home doing that, and that's mainly because of that midsole just being a little bit more responsive, and just has a little bit of a kick to it when you're running it. The Triumph 23 midsole is PWRRUN PB, but which makes it a little bit softer, but it doesn't really give you loads back either. So definitely for me, the Ride 18 is the more versatile shoe out of these two, and I think they're really on a par really when it comes to comfort. I'd be happy with either of these shoes for easy runs, and there's nothing really that stands out for me from the Triumph 23 above the Ride 18 when it comes to easy runs, because it's not massively softer either. So yeah, they're an interesting comparison between these shoes, considering the price difference between them, because the Ride 18 comes out on top in a lot of cases. The outsole on the Triumph 23, it's fine. It's not amazing. It's got a fairly thick layer of rubber on it, but it's not the most grippy outsole rubber on there. But this PWRRUN PB midsole foam is fairly sturdy, so it's probably going to be a pretty durable shoe. The Ride 18 actually has a bit more of a covering on the outsole, similar layer of rubber on it, but quite a bit more rubber that runs across the whole length of the shoe. Similar level of grip. It's basically the same rubber, but there's just a bit more of it on this, so probably a little bit better outsole on the Ride 18.
So in terms of my running time with these two shoes, I would say these are two very solid installments in the Triumph and the Ride line. I think with the Ride, definitely a little bit of a throwback to those older Rides in terms of what you get and the feeling in terms of versatility across paces. I think with the Triumph 23, had to make changes from the Triumph 22, and I think the changes have been made here, and it's definitely a much nicer shoe as a result. I'll start with the Saucony Triumph 23. Which I think getting out in it first, I would say, is that it does feel like there's a little bit more shoe on your foot when you're out in this compared to the Ride 18, just because you've got a little bit more padding around those kind of areas, as I said, the tongue and that heel collar, and you just kind of notice it a little bit more. I think in terms of that Ride, The PWRRUN PB here, which we know works really well in Saucony's endorphin range. It is bouncy. There's definitely higher rebounds in this shoe compared to the Ride 18, but it is relatively stable for a kind of bouncy shoe. It's not too wild. It's kind of set across quite a stable base. So I think having thrown on both of these shoes, what you see is that you do just compress a little bit more in this shoe compared to the Ride 18, particularly in the midfoot and the forefoot area, where you are just getting a little bit more foam in general, where you are getting plenty in the heel as well. So yeah, you know, a good kind of comfortable, definitely a kind of softer feeling, but definitely a bouncier shoe compared to the Ride 18. I think the Ride 18, that doesn't mean that it's a mellow ride in this shoe. There's good comfort in here as well. Definitely a shoe that I found I can run longer in. There's definitely more foam in terms of the design of the shoe in the heel compared to the forefoot, which does kind of, you know, thin out a little bit more. You can see there's just a little bit more stiffness in that forefoot area, and it does add a bit more responsiveness. I think when I've kind of landed on that kind of forefoot area, it just feels a little bit snappier compared to the Triumph 23. Again, it doesn't feel like a big heavy shoe, and I think that helps to allow it to feel more comfortable at slightly more up-tempo paces. And you know, when you put the work in, you know, you can get that kind of nicer feeling from those kind of more up-tempo kind of runs. But also similarly, when you ease off in this shoe, it absolutely feels comfortable to do that. I think you're maybe, if you like something a little bit more balanced in terms of that cushioning and protection throughout the shoe, I definitely think you're getting more of that in the Triumph 23 over those longer runs. And I feel like I prefer it over long runs. But I think in terms of kind of shorter, sharper running time, trying to run a little bit harder and faster, the Ride 18 feels a little bit more adept at those paces. In terms of outsole kind of coverage, I mean, it's not thick amounts of rubber in this shoe. They're definitely going to be shoes you can spend a lot of time in. There's a bit more kind of coverage on the kind of lateral side on the Ride 18. There's a bit more exposed area in the middle of the shoe on the Triumph 23, and it's really kind of protecting where it thinks that you're going to be landing the most. And I think that probably is where you're going to land the most. Maybe you could do with a little bit more in the midfoot area, because I do feel like it compresses a little bit more there, but maybe that would take away a little bit from the ride. But I think, you know, if you're sticking to kind of dry roads and pavements, absolutely fine. I think maybe wetter conditions may be a little bit trickier in both of these shoes, but overall very good kind of experiences in both of these shoes. Definitely some differences in terms of that versatility that I do think you get across these shoes, but shoes that I've enjoyed running in overall. So my takeaway, you should go for the Saucony Triumph 23 or the Saucony Ride 18. Now these are daily trainers with definitely different profiles. If you look at the Saucony Triumph 23, this is absolutely a max cushion shoe. It is a shoe built for comfort. It's a shoe that's a lot more softer feeling, and there's a bit more bounce that you're getting from the Ride in the Triumph 23. And those are characteristics that you like. And particularly if you're looking for a shoe that's good for long runs, can work for some kind of more moderate paces as well, absolutely the Triumph 23 would be the one to go for. If you're looking for something a little bit more versatile, a shoe that can do a bit of everything, I think can be comfortable running long, can handle some more kind of up-tempo running as well, I think the Ride 18 is going to give you a little bit more for less money as well. I have just found for slightly faster running, the Ride 18 feels better adept, and I think if you are looking for a shoe to do, as I said, a bit of everything, the Saucony Ride 18 is the one to go for. That is the shoe I would go for, because I still think this is a shoe that you can run long in. You maybe miss out on a little bit more of that kind of comfort that you get from the midsole and overall feel of the Triumph 23, but I do think from a lot of people the Ride 18 will work as a long run shoe, but also do all those other things a little bit better than the Triumph 23, and I think at a more manageable weight as well. So yeah, I think these are two very good daily trainers, very different daily trainers, but if I had to pick, I'd be going for the Saucony Ride 18.
So my verdict on these two shoes, if they were the same price, I would say that the Ride 18 is still the better shoe, because I think they do exactly the same job when it comes to easy runs. I think they're fairly comparable for sort of ticking off the miles, daily training, that sort of thing. But if you want to do a bit more in these shoes, so if you just wanted to buy one shoe and you wanted to go out and maybe start training a bit faster, go out and do tempo runs, go out and do interval sessions and things, the Ride 18 is better at it. It's got a bit more responsiveness to that midsole, but it's still a fairly well balanced midsole. So if they were the same price, I'd say the Ride 18. The fact that the Ride 18 in the UK is considerably cheaper, I would say the Ride 18 is by far the best option out of these two now. And I never would have said that before when it was the versions of the Triumph like the 21, which I really, really liked, because then it was a significant winner over the previous Ride, because it just felt like that foam and everything did a bit more. But now I think they're very, very similar in a lot of ways, but I just think you get a bit more versatility from the Ride 18, and all of the comfort benefits of it, all of the sort of durability elements, the outsole, it's all pretty much on a par. So they are shoes that are basically competing with each other nowadays, and there's a massive price difference in them. So I'm going to go Ride 18 all the way. I think it's a fantastic shoe, and I very much enjoyed running in this shoe. That's it from us on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell. If you're going to catch me below, you can find it to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.